Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, I'm about to spectate a free-for-all on the map Nomad between my viewers, which is of course part of my weekly Twitch TV livestream. If you'd like to get in on this, then by all means, I encourage you to head on over to my Twitch page and scroll underneath the video player there to find my schedule. I update it about every day, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled if you want to get in here. So the settings this time are going to be a little bit different than the last game that I spectated, and a lot of people have been asking me for more of these since the last one went so well. I'm going to be mixing it up a little bit, so this time it's Regicide. That means that every player is going to start with a king and a castle, and if they lose that king, then they lose the game. And of course we're doing last man standing, meaning that there can no longer be allied victory. Players are free to shift their teams around. Everyone's going to be going solo, but they can ally with each other. However, if there are only 2 players left in the game, then they must fight to the death. So yes, let's do this. I'm going to be spectating this one. If someone drops at the start, I'm just going to continue it and roll with it this time. And I have a 5-minute treaty at the beginning and so that no one can lame each other. Spectating this because it's just a popular suggestion is the Kool-Aid dude. People seem to really be enjoying those. In general, people tell me that the sort of like mixed lower rated games are a lot more interesting to watch than some of the higher rated expert games because, well, not only is the gameplay a little bit more relatable, but you know, things can be kind of crazy, right? And you know, you never really know what to expect. I'm curious actually why the castles aren't firing at everybody. So how exactly does this work at the start? Do they all start as an ally? Is that it? Do they all have to pick enemy at the beginning? Oh yeah, they all start as an ally because we have the treaty turned on, right? So no one can fire at each other for the first 5 minutes. One thing that I find is particularly interesting about Regicide and Nomad, I thought that players wouldn't start with the castle, but they actually do. So Teslano is apparently not settling where his original town center is. Apparently he wants to move in with Purple over here, buddy up, and leave his castle in the middle of nowhere. So Teslano is content to migrate across the map, and we're going to have to see if that pays off. So yes, during the first 5 minutes, all players will be allies, and I'll be doing my best to keep track of each player's individual alliances, but that's going to be difficult to keep up with. Yeah, before anyone suggests that I use friend or foe colors, for example, and make it so the teams have their own colors, there's no point because the teams are unlocked, so players will be shifting their alliances left and right, and for example, Teslano could be allied with Purple, but Purple doesn't have to be allied with Teslano, so not very intuitive there. I'm just going to be using the diplomacy menu and swapping between players' perspectives to keep track of the action to the best of my ability. Now this match, it's possible that it goes on for quite a while, so in that case I might have to split it into multiple parts. You'll find all the parts in the video description below, and of course you can always just search for those on YouTube. And if you're looking for more Age of Empires 2 content, or content relating to other games, then you're in the right place. I have a lot of AoE videos, as well as videos for a wide variety of strategy games, so yeah, keep your eyes peeled, and we got all sorts of good stuff on the way. I'm open to, of course, to people's ideas as well on settings for this. I think that these settings will be a little bit better than last time. It's something I'm still getting used to. Because the problem was last time is we had a super alliance at the end of the game, right? I think that allied victory is interesting because it encourages players to ally with each other, so that's why I kind of like the unlocked diplomacy teams. I think that the backstabbing and betrayals is kind of cute. But I also want to make sure that, we can't have just everybody on the same team versus one person, so. Well, thank you, Submarine. I really, really appreciate that. I did thank Stale Prince the HRE for the sub. And yeah, Twitch Alerts right now is, I think they're experiencing a little bit of server overload, so if you sub or donate, then it might not appear on the screen, but I am keeping track of it, and I will be looking through my notifications in case that happens. I would like to do more of these based off your feedback, so let me know. And I'd be happy to do some more of this stuff, as well as just other things. So like if I'm ever spectating one of the mixed rated games, I'm still going to be playing the games myself every now and then. I'll still be doing expert commentaries, you name it, content for other games too. Just a little bit of everything. Now let's talk a little bit more about the strategy here. So it's Regicide. This means that players also start with more villagers and a different distribution of resources than normal. For example, you start with no gold, and this means that if players want to grab that loom upgrade, then well, they're going to have to mine some gold first. And it looks like the combat begins. Iron Bullet's like, alright, the 5-minute timer is up. Time to shank these loomless villagers. It's a dangerous world out there since none of these players are able to get loom until they build a mining camp. And I guess that Teslano and Purple over here, I'm just going to be calling people by their player colors. So Purple and Red are going to be our first major team. Looks like Green is still in the zone. So let's go swap back to Teslano's perspective and confirm this alliance. What? Are they not actually on the same team? That is absurd. It's inevitable that I'm going to miss something that goes on in this game because I can't, I can't see everything. There's so much going on, but I'm going to do my best. Yes, I appreciate it, Land Liam. Oh yeah. So wait a minute. So you're telling me that Tislano, so purple and red are not on the same team, and yet red took all of his villagers at the start of the game. I mean, his king's still in this castle, but he took all of his villagers at the start of the game, and he moved them all the way over here. Was he aware that purple is right here? Because now they both see each other, and purple's going to respond with a barracks. So this is going to be where a lot of the action happens at the start of the game. And one thing to note on Nomad is, you know, in general, on Land Nomad, you're not actually able to build your town center right off the bat because you don't start with enough resources, so you'd have to build a lumber camp first. But since we're doing Regicide, you start with 150 stone and 500 wood, so you are able to do it right off the bat. Linus's lumber camp, Gray's lumber camp here, is not actually ideally placed. You may have noticed that it's a couple tiles away from the tree line, and that's actually not very efficient at all. And in general, you want to build your lumber camps directly up to the tree line, leaving no tile spaces. You could leave a one tile space, like the AI does, but that's generally just a little bit less efficient. When it comes to like a mining camp or a mill, you can leave a space, but with a lumber camp, you usually want to put it right up there, because look at all the extra time that these villagers have to spend walking to drop off the wood there. It's actually quite inefficient, and I hope that these two players call a truce, and I'm glad that this game isn't nearly as laggy as the other one, so I hope these two players call a truce. Red and purple would make natural allies. I really don't know how they're going to play this game otherwise, and it's going to get crazy really fast, and poor red has his king isolated in the middle of nowhere in that castle, sitting duck for when green decides he wants to move out. Ethan asks, what do you think you're going to eat for dinner? Thank you for asking, Ethan. I'm not entirely sure yet. Perhaps some of that grilled red snapper. We shall see. Hello, Kmart. Good to see you as well. So yeah, looks like Gray is going to be making a couple spearmen right off the bat. You never know when you're going to need a little bit of defense, but I would say, though, that the early spearmen... Hey, okay, first off, Gray is the first player to get to the feudal age, and this is pretty important. So Gray might be able to leverage that and get to the castle age before everybody else, and then he can start putting down a lot of town centers, booming up, getting a very large economic advantage over his opponents. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Also getting the feudal age first, it means that he's cutting back in his economy, right? So his economy is going to be weaker than the other players in this game, because he could have been creating villagers in that time. And if he doesn't take advantage of the early ability to produce military units, then this might actually set him back. Poor Gray over here, this lumber camp is very inefficient, so he's going to have to adjust that over time if he wants to survive. And the couple of spearmen combined with the men-at-arms upgrade doesn't really make that much sense to me, because, he has the men-at-arms upgrade, but he hasn't actually made any militia yet. Instead, he just has a couple of spearmen, so I feel like those resources could have almost been spent elsewhere. In terms of, like, early game upgrades that are very important, I think actually someone wandered into that castle or something like that and actually died. In terms of very important early game upgrades, generally double bit axe, loom, they're very, very high priorities. Hello, Gwilzar, welcome! This is my first time making it to one of your streams. Hello, King Marv as well. Generally, like, double bit axe is one of the most high priority technologies. I don't think that he actually has double bit axe yet. That one's great. 20% faster wood chopping for such a cheap price is wonderful, and you want to generally get that as fast as you can. Except if you're going for like a fast castle age, and if you were going for a fast castle age, then you would just start researching it as you're on your way to that age. Horse collar and whatnot, I would put a lot of emphasis on the economy upgrades unless you're trying to, go for sort of a rush. And in that case, I would, like men-at-arms is good if you have initial militia to take advantage of that, or you're planning on making them. Perhaps like fletching is a very high priority as well. And Jesus, look at that house wall. There's no way this is optimal. But this is going to be entertaining regardless. Yellow as well, with a little bit of an inefficient lumber camp here. I mean, it should generally be a little bit closer. A little bit closer if you can. And one thing that I like, even though perhaps these players are taking it to an extreme, is that, red and purple are, using their buildings to create a makeshift wall off. It's a great way to save resources. Hungry Hippo says, hey Rez, I think you're super funny and watch every YouTube vid. I'm from Finland and mega hyped to catch a stream. Thank you so much, Hungry Hippo. It's really flattering. Glad to hear it, man. Is there anything specific that you like about what I do? Let me know. And I look forward to bringing you more good content. So anyway, looks like red and purple are going to be temporarily allying with each other. If we swap to Solano's perspective, it looks like they have staged a... Yes. Ooh, well, no, no, they haven't. What? Are you serious? Is red just going to let purple mine this gold? Okay, so purple and blue are on a team despite being on polar opposite ends of the map, which is quite interesting. Thank you, King Marv. Glad to hear it. I am really surprised that red is allowing purple to mine this, considering that they're not in the same team. And I'm also blown away that these two are just not on the same team. The fact that purple chose to ally with blue, who's about as far away as physically possible, is definitely an interesting strategic decision. I do like that blue is putting a significant emphasis on hunting, as hunting is actually more efficient, generally speaking, than things like farming and gathering from forage bushes. You should do them anyway because those are free sources of food, but if you can hunt, your villagers actually gather the food just a little bit quicker, and it's just another free source of food to take advantage of. Uh-oh, drama already. What is this? It looks like blue has set his stance to neutral with purple, so the drama already escalating at an alarming rate. Purple and teal, their diplomatic relations breaking down, recalling their ambassadors. And it looks like a lot of the players in this game as well also have just a lot of defensive spearmen. Perhaps they fear the scout rush, or they're just going for the patented spearman rush. Oh man, that 3 attack, it's Stronk. Stronk, I tell you. And red, of course, fears this. He's going to run all his villagers into the town center. Does purple have the micro? Will he pull back? How many spearmen will die for free? We have 1 spearman down. And the rest are going to pull out. So purple are going to try and desperately protect this gold mine. And I think that's the right decision, considering how important it is that he secures this gold mine. I don't think the purple is aware of any actual nearby gold, and this is going to be the ideal gold for red too, but I guess red has this gold if he wants. Like, purple's in a rather unfortunate situation that he has lots of stone mines here, but like no gold mines. So he has to protect this. He's putting a lot of emphasis on that. I would like to see a defensive watchtower here, perhaps from red, to try and take advantage of that. Thank you, Olala Beat Rice. Hello, Alexeyev. Still my cooking says, love to watch matches like this. Glad to hear it. JG Bros says, what does neutral stance even do? Nothing. It's basically just the same as being an enemy, except, it sounds a little nicer to people. Good morning to you as well, Talio the Paladin. And Raceland says, what civs have the most natural advantages in the game for these types of games? I think it's debatable, but definitely the Chinese starting with extra villagers on Nomad is quite strong. Xerxes says, hey Rez, catching the stream after a while. I missed the Rez accents, bring them back. Well, welcome back, Xerxes. If there's an appropriate time for the Rez accents, I would be happy to do them, and if you have any suggestions, let me know. Oh, Teslano fighting back is going to try and mow down this purple house here. So, having all these idle villagers in here is actually quite significant. So even though purple hasn't been able to kill any villagers and he lost his spearmen, red has a bunch of these villagers in his own town center that aren't actually gathering any resources. All of these 6 villagers might as well be dead, and he got a house off it, but I don't really think that's worth it. He's not actually mining any of the gold from here, and a lot of those villagers are going to get some unnecessary idle time. And it looks like purple is going to try and move in for the kill. He might be able to snag 1 villager, we'll have to see. Cat says, I joined your community right after finding your channel on YouTube. You have a very cool voice, a clean way of speaking, a decent sense of humor at the right places, and you sound organized when showcasing things. Thank you, Cats. I appreciate it. Subchicken says, it's a good idea to do the tower upgrades with defensive towers. That's a great question. I would say that in general, no. In the CD version of Age of Empires 2, so we're talking about that 1.0C classic balance that we all know and love and grew up with, generally getting things like guard tower and keep was just almost never a good idea. Very, very rare did that ever come in handy. Those just weren't efficient, well-costed upgrades. So even if you had defensive watchtowers or you had forward aggressive watchtowers, either way, it just wasn't a good idea to get those upgrades. But now, in African kingdoms, since we have the arrow slits technology, which gives more attack damage to your keeps, guard towers, and watchtowers, and even more so depending on how fully upgraded they are. I think it gives keeps something ridiculous, like upwards of plus 10 attack or something. It actually makes them pretty strong, so I would say in African kingdoms, yes. Perhaps it is a good idea. Although it just came out, so it remains to be seen. Hello, Cerny! So I'm keeping most of my attention, obviously, over here, since for some reason red and purple have yet to set aside their differences and work together for the greater good. Red is going to be making a bunch of archers. I can't help but shake the feeling that skirmishers here just make more sense as a counter, as a way to deal with these archers. I don't believe he has fletching yet, and in HD I can actually click on the archers to check. Alright, yeah, he doesn't have actually fletching yet, so yeah, I think skirmishers would be a good answer here. The skirmishers are still decent against the spearmen. I think when it comes to prioritizing upgrades for units, purple is going for the, the infantry, defense, and attack upgrades first before his archer ones. I think fletching almost always takes precedence if you have enough ranged units. And you want the defense upgrades first for your melee units, that way they live long enough to actually get close enough to do some damage. And getting the first shot with your archers is great. I mean, we can see that purple's trying his best to harass red's economy, and having that extra range will help a lot with that. Whereas these combat stats will only really work if the spearman was, well, taking any damage in the first place. So range is a little bit better here, I think. And Cosmin says, you're going to do a tournament of the viewers and subscribers, maybe a best of one. I'm open to ideas. If there's any demand for it, I could do something like that. And yeah, this appears to be where most of the action is right off the bat if we're checking in on Monsieur Orange. This looks like a lot of these players, since, you know, many of them are new. We don't expect perfect play. Obviously, everyone has to start somewhere. And whenever I offer any of these suggestions, it's purely just for educational purposes. So I think the important thing to keep in mind is that a lot of these players are putting maybe a disproportionate emphasis on infantry, I guess. Infantry are great, but almost everyone has spearmen and men-at-arms. And I think that they're doing that because it's just convenient too, right? Like, you need a barracks for everything. And in general, when it comes to raiding your opponent in any sort of early game combat, you really want to be thinking about, you know, perhaps archers or scouts are generally the better thing to raid with. Men-at-arms can be good if you open up with some militia in the Dark Age, but those are strategies that take a lot of practice to execute. I think massing this many spearmen are, you know, they're pretty cheap to create, but they don't offer very much offensive presence on their own. These combat stats are just... they're best used for a counter unit, I guess, and in the late game, perhaps a meat shield, something cheap. But really, they're not something that I would rush out that much. You want to be thinking about scouts to get there really fast to try and harass your opponent's villagers, or maybe you want to be thinking more along the lines of archers to try and harass your opponent's villagers from a safe distance. We've already seen that purple is getting some very, very good value out of those archer units. Red's just in deep trouble. I like, though, that red got to the castle age, because purple's still not there, so he's down but not out. And in this case, this means that purple will be at a significant upgrade disadvantage, and the lack of fletching means these crossmen are going to be even stronger for red. Oh, will red be able to clean up this army? He doesn't have enough guys, though, so he does have to back out, and he does have an additional town center and another castle right off the bat, so red up to 2 castles. He's turning it around, so now purple not looking so good here. And another thing is that, you know, purple's the Britons, so getting the fletching upgrades even a little more important. Purple's still done a lot of economic damage, though, to red. They're both very, very even, but red's down but not out. He has another town center where he can start rebuilding, and this castle will keep him safe for the time being. I just can't wait until these players decide to set aside their differences and build that super blob and combine into each other. Cerny says, is this Regicide? Yes, this is Regicide. Now, to be fair about the infantry choice, this is, of course, the African Kingdoms expansion to Age of Empires 2 HD Edition, which got released on Steam recently. Welcome, Unicorn for the Win 23. Hello to you as well. This is African Kingdoms, which means that the infantry line just is a little bit better. So I'm talking about the militia, men-at-arms, longswordsmen, etc., especially due to the arson technology that they added, as well as the additional 5 HP that longswordsmen have. So I would say that... And I think they also got 1 melee armor. Really, like, the infantry line is looking a lot better now than it used to be, so perhaps this mass men-at-arms play is stronger than it was in 1.0C. Still, though, I would... well, and yeah, I guess he is the Incas, too. So perhaps this is okay. Either way, it's a threatening army, so even though that might not be the ideal choice of units, since everybody appears to be going for infantry, perhaps it will work out. Of course, one of the best ways to deal with this would be a large group of crossbowmen or something, or cavalry archers, but it looks like almost nobody has that. Meanwhile, almost everybody up to the Castle Age. Orange still in the Feudal Age, and another reason why Mass Men-at-Arms doesn't see that much play in the Standard Balance, and it still might not see that much play currently, is because this costs so much food and gold. If we go swap to Orange's perspective... Okay, well, he actually has enough resources to advance, so he needs to build the second Feudal Age building. I don't think a watchtower counts, so maybe it does. He needs to build a second Feudal Age building and get to the Castle Age ASAP, because he's falling behind in technologies. This army of men-at-arms will not be good enough when your opponent has things like longswordsmen, crossbowmen, castles, etc. It's just really like men-at-arms cost all the resources that you need to advance to the next age, and this is usually why we don't see players, you know, spamming scout cavalry for the entire duration of the Feudal Age. Sometimes they mass them up, but usually it's like you open with scouts, then you transition into archers because archers don't cost food, and food is the most important resource to advance the Castle Age. The gold is a little bit easier to come by, but, you know, massing men-at-arms can really, really slow down your advancement time. It looks like Orange will be putting down the blacksmith, which is absolutely fantastic. My game sounds are so quiet. Are they loud enough for you guys? Because they're pretty quiet for me. Is the music on too? I think it is. At least I have it on. It's ever since African Kingdoms came out, the sound has been like abnormally quiet. So there's a little bit of a lull in the action right now, as you know, purple and red kind of at a stalemate. I think a battering ram could take down this watchtower at any point, and it looks like, aha! So purple is going to be snagging that fletching upgrade, presumably working on crossmen soon, and this watchtower is also going to be buffed by the fletching upgrade. Meanwhile, a lot of these players just content to play with themselves in a sense, as green just booming up. He's having a very, very strong game. If we swap over to green's perspective, he's at a whopping 60 out of 70 population. course, I don't have the Vubi spectator overlay because this is being played in HD. No music, what? But I have it on. I don't hear any music either. What? Are you serious? Okay, well let me alt-tab and fix that. Thank you, Dilbert, for the sub. So I guess it does... I guess the notifications actually are working. So you might see the game... I'm not going to pan the camera for a second, as I'm going to be looking for... Yeah, I'll just go into the game folder and play it myself manually. That's a little bit weird. HD been very buggy recently. Unfortunately, the developers are working I think that they're on vacation right now as of me recording this, and then they're going to be working on the Age of Mythology expansion for a bit. So we might not even see an update for HD for maybe until February or even a little bit later. We'll have to see. Okay, so what I think I've done... Alright. Now that might be a little too loud. Let me know if the music volume is appropriate. In fact, I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Alright, you have your classic Age of Kings soundtrack in the background. Meanwhile, still, all's quiet on the Western Front. In fact, almost all of the fronts is purple and red still duking it out. The rest of the players in this game, you know, content to just sit back and relax. Gray with a ridiculous amount of trade cards. I haven't been keeping too much track of the alliances because really nothing's been happening yet. Perhaps next time I do this, I should set the map size just a little bit smaller to force a fight. And it looks like, yeah, so Gray and Orange going to make, in my opinion, perhaps one of the correct strategic decisions here. They're just going to ally up because they're geographically close to each other. I like this. I feel like players should be, you know, allying with each other in pairs to try and take advantage of that, because I don't know if it's best to necessarily fight the person right next to you unless you're confident that you can just take them out of the game. At the very least, in Teslano's case, maybe he should be allied. He's allied with nobody. Okay, so perhaps Red should be seeking an alliance with someone who's geographically close to him. You might not be able to ally with everybody, but perhaps if he can't, he can kill Pink. But maybe it's time to team up with the Green. Xavier Tenka says here, played Aoe2 on PlayStation. No, I have not. Now, if I missed any of your questions, feel free to ask them again, since while I was alt-tab fiddling with the music, I'm sure I did. You hear both musics? What? Alright, well, I'm just gonna turn that off. Everyone said they couldn't hear any music, and now... Alright, well, you know, keep me posted on this. I wasn't exactly sure if there was any music in the background, but now I'm sure there is, at least, and I don't think we have two soundtracks playing anymore, so... Okay. The soundtrack is quiet, Sean, but... Okay. Hopefully we're good to go. Keep me posted. And in the meanwhile... There's an army of trade cards. Now, where exactly is this army of trade cards? Where is Linus going with these forces? Looks like he might be... Okay, so he's actually allied with both orange and blue, so... This is interesting. So he's going to be sending an envoy of trade cards over here on a diplomatic mission to go secure some money. In the meantime, see some skirmishers over here, a couple of monks. Blue going for the long con with a relic already. How many relics does Blue have? That is the question. So he is... McCoy. He has 3. Are you serious? Sounds fine now? Okay. Yeah, sorry about the audio stuff. It's been a little bit buggy in HD recently, and I wasn't sure if there's any music in the background. Getting mixed messages, but at least I can assure you there's only one set of music going on right now. And Blue has 3 relics? That's actually absurd. So with 3 relics, really, like, Blue has 3,400 gold in the bank. If there's anybody that I have to, you know, put some money on to win the game, it might actually be Blue. He's biding his time. He's playing the late game. He's got a huge territory secured for himself, mining up all those delicious, valuable resources. Talk about a good base. And he's also in the corner, too, where he's able to keep himself safe. So unless Blue makes any massive strategic blunders, I think that he'll be in a pretty good spot. Or perhaps he gets betrayed. Who knows? Maybe a super coalition rallies together and they all gang up on him. King Marv says, I think the developers are on vacation since African Kingdoms was released. Yeah, I know that they are on holiday, but they will return, and then they have to work on the Age of Mythology expansion, so unfortunately we're going to have to put up with a lot of the bugs in the meantime unless they can come up with any miracle solutions. Drivian asks how much gold does a relic give? I don't know the specific numbers, but it's not that much gold. Yeah, it's a trickle-down gold per second, but when you have 3, that's quite substantial, especially in a free-for-all game where gold is a finite resource. It's not necessarily guaranteed to you. You can use the market, you can trade with your teammates, but eventually you're going to run out of teammates, right? Because I don't have Allied Victory on. So The relics will matter. Having an extra, 3,000 gold by the end of the game is great. That can fund an entire army in itself. That's a lot of gold. Zinc says, I saw your video on AoE for Nintendo not that long ago. I was a bit disappointed by what I saw. Yet thanks for showing that stuff. Well, thank you for letting me know, Zinc. Glad to hear that you enjoyed it. Yeah, the game is a little bit weird. The Age of Empires 2 for the DS. I'd be happy to revisit it and show a little bit more of the late game combat, because I didn't really get a chance to in that video. I think it was mostly just feudal age combat. It's basically a slightly different version of Advance Wars, but thankfully, since I like Advance Wars, I did enjoy that. But it's definitely not for everybody. It was something to, whet my Age of Empires 2 appetite when I just wasn't able to play it, I'm in the car on a road trip with my family. At least I have my DS. And it looks like green and blue are going to be our first two players up to the Imperial Age. Who's blue allied with? Blue's allied with green. Now that's an alliance I can get behind. Blue is playing this exactly how, well, I think they should be playing it. I like this a lot. Oh yeah, and blue with the fortified wall. He's got the gates, but he has defenses. So this man has allies, but he has walls to keep him out in case he gets betrayed at any point. He's got such a great area. He's allied geographically with players who are right adjacent to him. I love this. He has watchtowers here to protect this. He also picked green. He picked two powerhouses. This is a scary alliance. Green, blue, and gray are going to be quite the behemoths to take down. And unfortunately, I think red is just sandwiched between too many powerful opponents. He's right next to purple, and I think that red has been doing a colossally good job defending against purple, who's been putting on a lot of pressure. It's just that, if red ever expands too far out, then he's going to walk right into green, and you piss green off, and you're going to aggro all of his teammates. Still My Coconut says, oh my god, that DS game was awesome, especially Japan. I had a lot of fun with the DS game. It wasn't really Age of Empires, but it was still fun regardless. And it looks like blue's neutral with yellow, and going to allow yellow to station one villager here with an outpost and 3 sheep, so... should yellow lose his entire base, with the mercy of gray and orange, he might be allowed to survive. I should have set the map size smaller so these guys would actually slap each other. As right now, we got a little bit of a stalemate. Nobody really content to, punch each other yet in the meantime, so maybe I should switch the speed to fast for a little bit, or we'll just relax and answer questions. But, yeah, no one's really hitting each other yet. Everybody is just content to build up and play Farming Simulator, and in this case, a little bit of that Lag Simulator. Philtopia says this is way more fun to watch than the team games, and I said, yeah, I'm glad to hear it. I'm open to ideas. I just want to do Age of Empires stuff, and then some other stuff on the side, and whatever form that takes, I am open to ideas. And, yeah, I'll still be playing in some of the games, but I'd be happy to spectate them as well. Everybody building up. So many trade carts. Nobody actually fighting each other quite yet. I am surprised that we aren't seeing that much more content. In the meantime, Michael Deckers, our Yellow Magyars player, has figured it out. Here's Yellow's strategy. I don't think actually Yellow has played that much of the Magyars. I believe I was the one who suggested him to play this. Here's how he did it. So he opens up the tech tree. He's like, alright, crap, what do I build? Cavalry civilization. Okay, Scout Cavalry, Light Cavalry, and Hussars cost 10% less. Boom! I'm doing it! He's got the 3 stables. He has a huge army of light cavalry. He's got his soon-to-be hussars, the light cavalry, and then the Magyar hussars. So his entire army is almost the same unit. I dig it. Taking advantage of those resources. Now, as fun as this army is very easily countered by things like pikemen, which apparently every player in this game has decided to mass up. So this might not work exactly as planned, but I do like that Yellow is taking advantage of units that are strong for civilization. They do have a lot of discounts. But by making an army purely of these light cavalry type units, he leaves himself wide open to counters. So he's going to have to be careful about this. And if Yellow wants to win this game, he's going to have to be able to adapt to the situation, perhaps, and be able to throw in something like Arbalists as a way to protect his cavalry. Arbalists are a great mix with this sort of Magyar Hussar light cavalry type army because it's very weak to halberdiers and camels. Both of those units have incredibly low pierce armor, so Arbalists will just shred right through them. And thankfully, the Magyars master race, they do indeed have access to fully upgraded Arbalists, which is perfect. Guillaume says the science before the storm will be hell in the late game indeed. It's going to start a little bit slow, but players are inching up on each other, and it's only going to be a matter of time before Yellow has more cavalry than could possibly fit in the entire map. Meanwhile, though, oh man, Red is pissed. Yeah. Red's been bullied the entire game by our evil, pink, scary overlords, and he's moving out with these capped rams. A little bit of the lag right there. As Guillaume would put it, the lag before the storm. Pikeman upgrade put over here. Again, I still think it's a little curious that purple is putting so much emphasis on these infantry upgrades, despite the fact that they're really just not going to be able to do too much. If you look at Red's army, it is like all archer units. Red's really digging those archers, and as a result, the pikemen here, I mean, they're cheap, so I understand that. I like to throw in some meat shields at the front of my army, and it is one way to deal with the capped rams. Still, though, I would probably put a little bit of emphasis on the bodkin arrow upgrade. Red putting back his starting town center, going to replace it after purple managed to take that down, so red content to move back in here, pretend like it never happened. These rams are on the way out. I like the knight choice. The knights are going to be just a bit better against these rams. The pikemen here are still okay. I mean, they're cheap, so he's able to just throw them away, and I do like that purple was putting emphasis on the defense upgrades for his melee units first, as opposed to the attack upgrades when it comes to his infantry. That means that they're able to resist the arbalest shots a little bit better. I like that red is also putting a lot of emphasis on advancing to the next age. And this meant that, he has a tech advantage. He has Arbalest, which will allow him to trade favorably with his opponent, unless he sits directly underneath the castle and is just eating up those castle shots. So purple, once again, going to pull ahead, the shoe in the other foot, and I think that Teslano might lose this town center yet again. So I hope he's not growing too attached to this. I do think that purple will be able to clean this up as soon as he replaces his own rams. And oh my god, yellow with the first blood, the first kill of the game, is going to slay this scout. Michael Decker is on the move, and he's allied with orange and neutral with half the Super Alliance. But he's coming in for Cowboy Wub Wub, our green player over here. This is the test. We saw in the last game... Thank you, Waymender, I appreciate it. We saw in the last game that I spectated, the migration one, that some players were just not particularly good allies with each other. And this is going to be the test. How good of an ally is blue and gray, are blue and gray to green? Will blue back them up? All right, yeah, blue is going to actually back up green. Yeah, because last time we saw this, no one was actually willing to defend each other. They were all willing to attack the winning player, but not actually defend their teammates. Now we're going to see a huge engagement. This is what I was fearing. Yellow's army might be scary, but blue's got the counters. This is why I love the Byzantines. They're one of my favorites in Age of Empires too. The camels and the pikemen are just going to work wonders on Yellow's army. Yellow's army might be cheap, and it doesn't cost him any gold. So this means that if Yellow wants to play the long con here, save all of his gold, that'll be nice, but he's still going to get slaughtered by this blue army composed of counter units. And also, he's not going to be able to outvalue blue, as blue is not only being conservative with his gold, but he's 3 relics in the bank. Yellow very, very low on gold anyway, and he's going to have to pull out. He's just getting decimated by those pikemen, by those camels, and right now, purple's moving back in. He wants that town center. Spooky Magician, hello. We're doing another diplomacy, yes. I'd be happy to do more of these, but again, this isn't going to be the only thing that I do. Yeah, I like the variety is the spice of life. I like to do something for the players who are, not super interested in AoE, and then for the players who are super interested in AoE, I like to play some games, cast some games, do a little bit of all of the above. And right now, well, the first shot's been fired on this town center. Purple going to move back in. And what I hope happens is that after red regroups his army, I hope that he replaces his town center yet again and just builds a new one here. Denna asks, he says, hey all, hello Denna. This is game 1. So King Marv asks, what are orange and gray doing? Thank you for directing me. So I'll swing my camera over here. It looks like orange right now is preparing for the apocalypse. He has a bunch of units. Orange as well. He's got all these infantry upgrades. I'm glad to see that all the players are remembering their upgrades. I would like to see fletching at some point. This is a pretty sizable army. Like, orange might have a low score, but size doesn't mean everything. And one of the reasons why orange's score is just a little bit low, so Mr. Bullet, if you watch this later, it's all about the villager count. If we swap to, we swap the numbers here, they're not so good. Yeah, he has about 40, I think almost exactly 40 villagers, and, well, it's like less than a villager a minute. What you want to be thinking of in general is, you ask yourself, what's the population of the game? Oh, it's 200 population. So you want to have at least half the max population as villagers. In general, you'll probably want more. Hello, Overjoyed Soup. Welcome to the stream. Sorry if I missed some of your highs. So, yeah, you want to, in general, there's good ways to start is by having half of the max population as your villagers. And you might need more beyond that. In fact, you'll probably end up going up to 120. It depends on your needs. If you're not able to sustain troop production, if you're running out of resources while you're producing an army from multiple military buildings, then you probably don't have enough villagers. And if you're low on a particular resource, like perhaps wood, as orange is, maybe you just need more lumberjacks. You'd also be able to harvest wood faster by building another lumber camp a little bit close to this wood line. Got to keep that villager production rolling out. And that way, you're able to, you know, sort of snowball the game from here. So we're going to start seeing some serious action as Purple is tired of this housing development. He's like, not in my backyard. Gonna clear that out, and Red, unfortunately, just has not recovered from losing his entire army walking underneath that castle. But, you know, Red's still in this. He's going to need a few more unit production facilities, some more villagers. So he's working on building up that economy, and hopefully this castle will buy him enough time, as, you know, Purple's still in the castle age, so he won't actually be able to break this castle that easily without a couple of battering rams. Yeah. I see it's the Kool-Aid dude. I hope you have a wonderful new year. And welcome, Ronaldo. So we swapped to Orange's perspective. He's advancing his army a little bit forward. Yeah, it looks like he's sort of being a little menacing on Yellow, but he's actually on the same team as Yellow and Gray. He's neutral to Blue, though. So Orange is going to sit here, content to twiddle his thumbs to this massive army, and Gray as well. Yeah, I should probably... Alright, next time I do this, I'll probably make it like map size 6, slightly smaller. That way we can group them in there just a little bit tighter. There's a lot of people watching right now. Hope you all are enjoying the stream. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future. You can find the schedule below if you're interested in coming back. I do plenty of Age of Empires streams as well as stuff for other games, so you can find the schedule below. I do update that every day. And in case you've missed out on part of this match, I will post it on YouTube, as I always do. So Green advancing menacingly on Purple, so if we swap back to Cowboy Wubwub's perspective, switch over to Green. He's looking strong. We actually have 2 Byzantines, so both Byzantines on the same team. He's actually only allied with Blue right now, so diplomatic relations with Gray deteriorating, and perhaps the diplomatic relations are deteriorating because Gray has decided to wall off his own trade route. Gotta remember to put a gate over here, otherwise he's gonna block his own trade card, so we'll be forced to, well, walk all the way around here, and that will not be particularly efficient. So he can put that gate in there if you would like. And yeah, Green's building a big forward. This is going to be intimidating for sure. Welcome, Yolosa. Dark Paladin says, by the time you advance the Castle Age, how many villagers are supposed to have? It really depends. And he also asked about Imperial Age. I say about the Imperial Age, again, it's going to vary. So if you're fast castling, you know, it's probably going to be something around the lines of 28 villagers when you go to the Castle Age. But if you've been hanging out in the Feudal Age, basically you just want to make sure that your town center is always doing something until you have at least half the max population as villagers. So until you have at least 100, we'll just say 100 is a good minimum to shoot for, and then you'll probably want more after that. Until you have 100 villagers, make sure your town center is always creating villagers, researching a technology, or advancing to the next stage. It should be doing one of those things all the time. Thank you, Dancing Hippos. Glad to hear that you're enjoying it. So Mythology asked, has Green noticed the king on his doorstep? No, not quite yet, as it looks like, ooh, Gray's gonna walk his army across the entire map right into Red's backyard, and as a result, some sheep are gonna get tragically caught in the crossfire. Red gonna leave no survivors, and they're gonna see some patented skirmisher raiding, which I haven't seen since my Incas El Dorado game. Skirmisher is not the best raiding units in the game, dude. They're incredibly low attack stat. They're gonna have a lot of trouble killing villagers, and I wonder if this is even necessary that Gray sends his forces over here to actually pick on Red, who's just been having a rough game. You know, Red had been attacked since basically the moment that the truce ended. Red has been under some serious pressure, as moving his base all the way over here did not really work out, and Red the lone wolf with no teammates whatsoever. Oh man, my heart and soul goes to Teslano, who's, oh god, the killing blow. Green, ruthless dictator. Teslano says rude. He's marching his army in here. He probably gave the command to kill. He's like, Gray, if you want to prove your loyalty to us, you must slay Teslano. That is the final test. And Gray's like, yes, me lord. I shall do as you say. At once, sire. And well, with these onagers over here, I mean, I think Red's going to be our first casualty to the game. I don't know how he's going to negotiate his way to this one. With no teammates, he's in deep, deep trouble. And Yellow's had it up to here. Still with a massive army of cavalry. I love that he's throwing in some arbalists. That will be the solution to those counters. A couple of mangonels as well. You're going to need some siege weapons to back up this army. Maybe a trebuchet. Is Purple all alone in this universe as well? That is the question. Well, he's going to see the army march again. Yes, Purple and Red are actually all alone without a single ally in this world. You'd think they would make natural teammates. You'd think. Hodder asks, how's Yellow's lone lumberjack doing? I'll have to go check for you. Yellow's lone lumberjack is doing just fine, although there appears to be a pile of bodies at the foot of this castle. So yeah, Yellow moving in here. This is going to be a relatively inefficient way of dealing with this castle, and Purple going to be prepared. Oh, wait. Is Red already... Okay, I guess Red just resigned, even though he didn't lose his king, so... One player down! First casualty of the game is going to be Teslano. Our Red Italians player has been eliminated, and it looks like Purple is going to be the next one on the die list. Well, I say that, but purple's doing a remarkably good job of defending against this. This group of pikemen is going to be the right call. He is in the Imperial Age. We'll clear out all his hussars, and we see the weakness of this mono hussar strategy from yellow. It's efficient. I like that. You know, he's being conservative with his resources. His army comp's a little bit better balanced, but this is going to take approximately eons to destroy this castle. So all those troops going to die for free. Purple, the king of value trades. In almost all of his engagements, he's been wiping out entire players' armies for free. Everybody content to throw away their army, suicide it to his castles. A single trebuchet, though, would be the nail in the coffin for purple, and would allow yellow to seize victory here. Meanwhile, though, green moving in, and if I do recall, I believe that green is actually not in the same team with yellow. Yes, so, this is what I've been waiting for, the Oreo tactic here, as, you know, while green is moving in from the top. We got our purple cream in the middle over here, and our gross yellow Oreo. Oh, actually, no, the yellow one would be like the vanilla one. So this one's like the moldy Oreo cookie, and then Michael Decker's will be our yellow Oreo cookie, and then we have our purple cream. Like, basically, as soon as purple dies, these two armies are going to meet each other and just slam into each other, and things are going to get really, really crazy. It's up to purple to try and find some place to run away. I think I like this town center over here. If I was him, perhaps I would just send some villagers over to the corner and hope that these two armies end up accidentally killing each other as they push through. So, Sean says, how's blue doing up there? I think that right now he's been opening up a lot of trade with green, so we have the double Byzantine Empire looking good, and blue, I like this. Paranoid but effective. He's got powerful allies, but he's not just willing to, you know, let green come in here and fortify his own base. He's only opening this up for trade. Otherwise, he's got fortified walls, he's got towers, castles. He's safe, whereas green's actually left the back end of his base open. Very trusting of blue. Whereas, you know, blue just has a very well-defended, strong base. I like this a lot. And gray, still relaxing, playing the long con. Meanwhile, purple running out of stuff. Yellow gonna pull out, waiting for more units. The two trebuchets are here, so Michael Decker is making a great play. We'll be able to seal the deal. Meanwhile, purple running away as far as he can. Although I don't know if running closer to yellow is the solution here. We'll have to see. Yeah, this is a disaster waiting to happen. I love how blue is playing this, and I think that, you know, green's also playing extremely well too. But green, oh man. He hasn't locked the door yet. The moment that blue decides that green's just getting a little too powerful and there can only be one Byzantines in this game, then green's a sitting duck. He only has the front of his base protected. He's very, very trusting in this case. He's got a guard tower up here, though. That's pretty cute. I think that purple should probably run to the right. I think his villagers had the right idea, and then in typical Age of Empires villager fashion, they had a stroke and forgot what they were doing. Guys, you can put the gold rock down at any point. You don't need to keep holding it. It's fine. Just gonna stand there, not moving. That can't be good for his back. Rip posture. Well, meanwhile, these two players moving up. Will green and yellow team up. They're actually still enemies, but they're both a little bit timid. Neither of them want to engage with each other. Yellow's still missing a couple of upgrades. And, well, green just sitting back. Everybody trying to, you know, destroy as many houses as they can to inflate that score, raise some buildings. There has to be a way to force some more combat. I don't think there's any slinging happening, Sapching, but I can't check. Latchus, what's Orange doing? Sitting back, playing Farming Simulator, doing what I think a lot of us used to do as a kid, which is don't attack anybody, don't help anybody, just wait. Oh, looks like yellow and green are going to be allying with each other. Cool. Is just wait until you have your entire, like, maximum population army with full upgrades before you actually attack. In reality, you can actually do a lot of significant damage with your army without actually being at max population or before you have all your upgrades, but I think a lot of us did this. Like, I wouldn't attack when I was 7 years old and playing Age of Empires 2, I didn't attack until I had, you know, 150 Elite Longbow with full upgrades. Whereas in general, though, if you're playing online, I think it's important to get used to this idea that you can attack a little earlier if you do want to. Thank you, the Lone Wolf, for the sub. It means a lot to me. Thank you, my friend. So, these two will ally with each other. I wish I could put a time limit and have, you know, last man standing on here, no allied victory, but I can't really do that. I can't really force these players to attack unless maybe I should set the map size to be microscopic. Either way, I hope you guys have been enjoying this, and this is a fun game too. I'm just always thinking of ways I can improve the format for the future. So yeah, let me know what you want to see. In the meantime, looks like yellow, he's out for blood. Purple, one of the underdogs of this game, I just can't shake the feeling that if purple and red, if they could set aside their differences and just make out, they would have had beautiful children together. And I think that would have been wonderful. It's unfortunate because now we have a very scary super alliance here. So we've got blue, yellow, and green all on the same team. Still neutral gray. Green doesn't trust gray, perhaps because gray himself, besides his army of aggressive forward sheep surrounding Tislano's stuff, I mean, really, like, gray's only managed to attack with a couple elite skirmishers. Gray's just sitting in his own base waiting for himself to have full upgrades. I like that he's getting the archer defense ones. I mean, the archer attack and range ones first, but he should be getting the defense ones on his paladins. Before that, he's going to wait till he has full upgrades. Orange as well. Very, very strong. I still want to see more villagers from Orange, though, if at all possible. And is this the double cross? There we go. This is yes! Yes! I think Ronaldo appreciate it. Oh! I knew it. I knew this would happen. It's too good to be true, man. There can only be one. There can only be one Byzantines in the game. The two giants are about to fight. The double cross. And I think this is a smart play. But hopefully it doesn't bite. I mean, it might bite Blue in the butt. That'd be hilarious. Look at this. He's under that much attack right there. Oh, yes, so much attack. This I think is pretty cool because Green... Well, I guess he doesn't have all of his army over there, but, like, Green did not see this coming, right? You wait too long, and then I think Cowboy Wubwub, our Green Byzantines player, would have noticed that, he left the back door completely unlocked and open. No fortified walls here. So I think if you leave him enough time, he would have noticed that. And Blue is aware that Green is the other strongest player in the game. Even slightly stronger than him, perhaps. So taking advantage of this, catching him by surprise with his pants down, his army is not here, is fantastic. Green actually put all of his eggs in one basket. Look at this. His army's all the way over here. He put almost all of his military buildings forward on our friend Purple over here, but he was a decoy. It's just a setup from the start. And this means it's going to be very difficult for Green to reinforce this, and unless the game tragically goes out of sync. Nothing I can do about that if that happens, but I hope it doesn't. Oh man, I think Green might actually die because he has so few military buildings in his own base. He has some down here, but all of his economy is just exposed at the back. None of these villagers are going to be gathering any of these resources. I mean, I say this, but Green's filthy rich, Bill Gates status right here. He's saving up enough food for a nuclear winter. When everyone else on the planet is dead, Cowboy Wubwub will still be here eating chicken. He'll still be eating his delicious steaks that he gathered from those forage bushes. And yeah, Green panicking. He's going to walk right through one of Tislano's castles, so Tislano's still racking up the kill count from the grave. He'll still be able to win this one in spirit. And yeah, poor Green, going to get demolished. His entire economy left at the back, and meanwhile, Blue BM as fuck. This is so alpha. Blue going to be doing what I think a lot of us used to do in the campaigns, is just trade with the dead guy. Trade with the enemy. Hopefully they don't notice. Yeah, Green still no embargo here, by the way, so Green still opening up his ports to trading while he's dying. He's still got to make a little bit of money on the side, right? Green might be able to hold the line here, but he's lost so much of his own economy. He's down to 128 population. If we swap over to Blue, he's at 161, so Blue's looking good. And this might be the twist that we've all been waiting for. Meanwhile, Orange and Gray, we're going to keep our eyes peeled on these guys, as once they have max upgrades, the fight begins.